Today I'm going to be ranking every Harley Quinn in Injustice 2 Mobile from worst to best. As always, if you enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get started. Starting off our list, coming in at number 5 is going to be Silver Harley Quinn. Like most Silver characters, Silver Harley Quinn is really simplistic and there just isn't that much going on. If we go look at her passives, she gets extra damage on swipe attacks, and she also gives the entire team extra attack. And if we go look at her special abilities, none of them have any sort of buffs or effects aside from her special 1. So when you use Silver Harley Quinn's special 1, it will drop a hazard, and if the opponent goes inside of that hazard, a couple of different things can happen. First of all, you're going to get the base hazard damage, and you can also stun, power drain, or you can disable the opponent's special abilities. This effect is always random, which means that you probably don't want to rely on this all the time. Anyways, the thing that makes Silver Harley Quinn a little bit worse in my opinion is just the fact that she doesn't have a secret multiplier on any of her special abilities. Like I said, most Silver characters are really simplistic, but some Silver characters are still pretty good just because they have secret multipliers. I did see the gameplay where Sergio used Silver Harley Quinn to defeat P1. However, P1 is not that difficult to defeat, and Silver Harley Quinn also had the All Blades, and she was barely able to defeat P1, so that's not really that good. If you want to get Silver Harley Quinn shards and gear, it's all over the campaign, so it's really easy. However, I really don't recommend going out to get this character just because, well, she doesn't really do that much, and that's why she's coming in at number 5. Moving on to number 4 is going to be Unhinged Harley Quinn. This character is also very simplistic and also not very good. If we go look at her passives, she only has one passive, and what it does is whenever Harley Quinn knocks out an opponent, that opponent is kind of going to turn into a minion, and he's going to be on your team with 25% of his health. This passive isn't the worst thing in the world, but unfortunately, well, kind of obviously, it doesn't work in raids, and also, Unhinged Harley Quinn is not that strong, so even in arena, it's not really worth it. If anything, this passive kind of feels like a side passive or a bonus passive instead of being a main passive, and unfortunately, it is Unhinged Harley Quinn's main passive and only passive, so it just doesn't work that well. And if we go look at her special abilities, her special 1 is exactly the same as Silver Harley Quinn's. It drops a random hazard effect, which can be stun, power drain, or disabling the opponent's special abilities. As for her special 2, it has stun, and her special 3 doesn't have any buffs. If you want to get Unhinged Harley Quinn shards, you can get them off of chests, and I also believe they drop off of raid drops. As for her gear, you can get it off the campaign, and it also drops in raid drops. However, just because there's really nothing good to say about Unhinged Harley Quinn, I really don't think you should try to go get her because she's definitely below average, and that's why she's coming in at number 4. Alright, moving on to number 3 is going to be Batman Ninja Harley Quinn. So the main reason why this character is coming in the middle is not necessarily because this character herself is good, because she is not good. It's really just because characters like Batman Ninja Harley Quinn, you don't really need to have them in a battle. All you need to do is have them in your roster in order for you to benefit from their buffs. So it's really hard to rank characters like this because technically speaking, she is doing what she's supposed to be doing, but if you throw her in a battle, she's just not going to do good. So Batman Ninja Harley Quinn only has one passive, and what it does is it gives 30% of this character's base health and base attack as a bonus to the Batman Ninja team. And again, all you need to do is have her in your roster. Moving on, if we go look at her special abilities, her special 2 does stun, and her special 3 is really interesting, and I mean that in a bad way, because basically what this special is going to do is it's going to shoot 1 to 5 different projectiles, and each projectile is going to do a certain amount of damage, but it's completely random how many projectiles this is going to shoot, so the amount of damage that you're going to do is completely unreliable and completely random. Anyways, if you want to unlock this character, she pops up in arena special events, or in other words, she invades the arena. This unfortunately does not happen every single arena season, and it also doesn't give you a lot of shards, so getting this character and promoting her is going to take a very long time. As for her gear, you can also get it whenever she invades the arena, and you can also get her gear off of raid drops. Although you really shouldn't worry about getting her gears, I would mainly just focus on promoting her up to 5 stars, so that way you get the most buffs out of her passive. Batman Ninja Harley Quinn is going to be one of those characters that you might forget is in your roster. However, she is still going to be giving you those really great buffs even if you don't know that she's there, and that's why she's coming in at number 3. Moving on to number 2 is going to be Suicide Squad Harley Quinn. So before I start talking about passives and special abilities, I just want to say that this character, This character reminds me of those moments when somebody's talking for a really long time and saying all of these big words, and then you really think about what they're saying, and then you realize they didn't actually say anything at all, because she has so many different passives and so many different buffs, but I've never seen anybody use this character in a way that's super amazing. I mean, if you look at all the different buffs, man, you would think that she would be useful in pretty much every single scenario, but it's kind of the opposite. I don't really see too much going on with this character. With that being said, she is of course a legendary character, so she is going to be doing more damage than just your average gold character, and whenever you pair her up with Enchantress, oh my god, this is what makes this team actually kind of decent. When you have Enchantress and Harley Quinn, I feel like these two characters are super, and I mean super tanky, because I have fought these really high threat legendary teams with Enchantress and Harley Quinn, and oh my god, dude, actually doing damage to them, well, it's going to be really hard because they have so many countermeasures, and also when you do a lot of damage to them, they have a really strong healing effect. So that's kind of my summary of what I've seen with Suicide Squad Harley Quinn. Now let's go look at her passives. And I do apologize if, as I'm reading these passives, I just don't understand them or I sound confused, because again, she's got so many things going on, but it's ridiculous, man. Alright, let's start. Okay, so her first passive has 50% critical attack chance from teammate Deadshot, 50% power generation from teammate Harley Quinn, immune to critical attacks, plus 55% critical attack resistance for teammates, -1 to Suicide Squad team's power bar cost for special abilities, and 100% health from teammate Enchantress. Moving on to her passive 2, she has -55% of opponent's random stat, plus 30% of the same stat for Harley Quinn and teammates, and it triggers 8 times per battle, maximum 3 times per opponent. Okay, so I didn't really know what this meant, so I read the paragraph down below, and from what I can understand, she can basically steal a random stat of the opponent, whether it be fast attack, critical attack chance, critical attack damage, defense, blocking, and she could take part of that stat and apply it to herself and to her teammates. This actually sounds pretty decent for Arena, however, I really don't see how this is going to help you out in raids and in solo raids. Also, because this passive is completely random, you're still going to be building Harley Quinn however you would build Harley Quinn, because you can't really rely on getting a certain stat at a certain point. It is a really cool bonus though. Finally, moving on to her passive 3, she gets 125% attack from teammate Joker, she gets 60% stun and dot resistance from opponent Joker, and she gets 50% dot resistance for teammates from opponent Joker. Moving on, if we go look at her special abilities, her special one is the only one that has a buff or an effect, and it's exactly the same as some of the other Harley Quinns. Basically, she drops a hazard, and you have a chance of stun, power drain, or disabling the opponent's special abilities. Alright, so with all that being said, I have to be completely honest, I'm not really sure how I feel about this character. On the one hand, the really big problem with this character is that she's legendary, and so you're going to have to go through a lot if you want to try to get this character, not to mention her gears. But she does have a lot of different passives, but some of those aren't really practical for certain situations. So if anything, this is one of those characters that you probably want to get after you already get all of your main characters and you just want to have a little bit of fun. But since I'm comparing Suicide Squad Harley Quinn with all of the other Harley Quinns, I really do believe that she's the second best Harley Quinn in the game. Anyways, with all that being said, let's move on to number 1, which is going to be Heartbreaker Harley Quinn. I'm pretty sure everybody saw this coming because Heartbreaker Harley Quinn is definitely one of the best damage dealers out there. The main problem with Heartbreaker Harley Quinn, however, is the fact that you do need to get 2 specific other characters to go along with her, and that's Entangling Poison Ivy and Arkham Knight Batman. But when you do get these characters, trust me, it's going to be really worth it because you're going to be doing insane amounts of damage. So with the Heartbreaker Harley Quinn team, you need to focus on 3 different things. Number 1, Heartbreaker Harley Quinn's passive 3 makes it so that she does 300% damage against stunned opponents. Number 2, you need to focus on Arkham Knight Batman's special 2 because it could stun anybody, including bosses. And number 3, you need to focus on Entangling Poison Ivy's passive, where her teammates are going to be doing dot damage with their basic attack hits. Alright, so with that being said, now let's look at Heartbreaker Harley Quinn's other passives. Her passive 1 isn't really that impressive, she just gives 75% chance chance for team to reflect stuns, and she also gives extra XP bonus. And her passive 2 takes away 70% stun resistance for the opponent, and also 75% damage over time resistance for the opponent as well. Even though her passive 1 and her passive 2 aren't as great as her passive 3, you still want to at least max out her passive 2, so that way you can take away a little bit of the dot damage resistance of the opponent, because of course you're going to be doing dot damage with your basic attack hits. Moving on to her special abilities, these aren't really super important since you're going to be doing a lot of damage with your basic attack hits, but just for that extra damage, you might want to level them up. Alright, so for her special 1, she's got damage over time, and she also reduces the amount of damage that the opponent is going to be doing for a certain amount of time. And her special 2 has stun, and her special 3 has armor pierce and damage over time. If you want to get Heartbreaker Harley Quinn shards, it's going to be pretty difficult since you can only get them off of chests, but one time, and this is actually how I got the entire League of Anarchy team, there was one chest that guaranteed shards for the League of Anarchy team, and so at the time I had saved up a lot of gems, and so I just bought a crazy amount of those chests, and I was able to unlock the entire League of Anarchy team. I'm not entirely sure if that chest is going to come back, but it was really good, and if you want to save up your gems hoping that maybe one day it comes back, I guess go for it. Heartbreaker Harley Quinn is a really great character. One more thing I wanted to say is that one time I said that Heartbreaker Harley Quinn is better to have with Entangling Poison Ivy than Last Laugh Joker with Entangling Poison Ivy. And when I said that, somebody said that that's actually not true, because with Last Laugh Joker and Entangling Poison Ivy, you don't really have to rely on stuns going off. And of course, if you have Heartbreaker Harley Quinn, Arkham Knight Batman, and Entangling Poison Ivy, you're going to be using Arkham Knight Batman's Special 2, which might stun the opponent, including bosses. I think it only has like a 50% chance. And so his entire argument was that because you have to wait for the opponent to be stunned, Heartbreaker Harley Quinn is not better than Last Laugh Joker. However, that is just not true. Heartbreaker Harley Quinn, even though yes, you do have to wait for the stuns to go off, she's going to be doing 300% more damage. So even if it takes 2 times longer to start doing your damage with Heartbreaker Harley Quinn than with Last Laugh Joker, it's really not a big deal because you're going to be doing 300% more damage. But if you just want simple proof to know that Heartbreaker Harley Quinn is actually better than Last Laugh Joker, you can go see the gameplay of all the top tier guys that are really high up in the raids, and I can guarantee you they're going to be using Heartbreaker Harley Quinn with Entangling Poison Ivy instead of Last Laugh Joker. Anyways guys, with all that being said, I hope you guys have a nice day, stay safe and stay clean, and I'll see you guys later.